Ashley Heidemann from JD Advising. Before we dive into our video, let me give you some background on our completely free law school prep course. You can find a link below and sign up to access it right away. And if you find this video helpful, please like and subscribe to our channel. As of this taping, we have literally thousands of students enrolled in this free law school prep course. We're also very grateful that students rated this course an average of 4.76 out of 5. This course is posted as a free resource on the Law School Admission Council, or LSAC's website, and was just mentioned last month by U.S. News & World Report and the National Jurist as being a helpful law school resource. It has also been promoted by the National Black Law Students Association, Phi Alpha Delta, and various law schools and undergraduate institutions across the country.
Okay, folks, so we're going to talk about networking. This video is part one of a two-part session on networking because it's just that important. First, we'll talk about the who should be in your network. Second, we'll talk about how you can build your network strategically and in the least awkward way. And lastly, in this video, we'll cover some conversation starters to use for complete strangers, law students, and lawyers. Let me start by saying that I am an introvert through and through. And I'm the middle child of 5 siblings, so I'm quite used to not being in and shunning the spotlight at all costs. However, being an introvert does not mean that you can't tap into extrovert tendencies when you need to. As a law student, I often felt nervous meeting new people and attending events where I had to network. I was even sweating bullets at my first year orientation. But you've heard the term practice makes perfect, and you will get better and better at networking the more you do it. Let's start with definitions because I think we throw this word around quite a bit. So the dictionary defines a network, this is the noun that we're talking about here, as an association of individuals having a common interest, formed to provide mutual assistance, helpful information, or the like. Now, the verb form of networking is defined as the act of cultivating people who can be helpful to one professionally, especially in finding employment or moving to a higher position. So keeping both of those definitions in mind, I think will help you to understand the importance of networking. It's both a thing, right? And it is an act, it's an action. And that's why we're talking about it right now. From the very first moment you step onto your law school campus, you're walking into a ready-made network of classmates, upperclassmates, professors, and law school administrators. And if, like me, you walk into the law school building and don't see many faces that look like yours, or familiar faces, that makes it especially difficult to imagine walking up to a complete stranger and striking up a conversation. I'm sure I missed opportunities to engage my network because I was too shy, or I just assumed we wouldn't have anything in common, so why bother? Don't make the same mistake I did. I now know that almost all of my classmates were just as nervous as I was and struggling to find out how to strike up conversations with complete strangers too, especially in what we'd been taught to believe was this super competitive and adversarial environment. So let's talk about the opportunities you'll have to build your network in law school and also how you should go about doing it. So in law school, you will have many opportunities to make connections and build your network. A lot of these will occur when you're with other people face to face. The best way to connect to someone is not over email, not in a phone call, but face to face, and preferably live rather than over Zoom. So it's a great idea to first take advantage of opportunities that will naturally come up when you're in law school. So as for the first group of people, your classmates, there will be a plethora of opportunities to network without any planning on your part. This will be in class, on your way to class, after class as you're walking out. You'll be networking with your professors before, during, and after class, or even during their office hours, and with the administrative staff at your law school. This could be just simply passing that admissions dean that you remember in the hallway, or attending some of the events that they host, because they'll often ask law students to come and talk to prospective law students. Sometimes these will be more formal events, like an admissions open house. Sometimes it'll be just as informal as bumping into a classmate or professor in the hall on your way to class. These are all opportunities to engage with your network, which is helping you to build your network. You're kind of stuck with your section mates. You're going to see them every day, just about, for at least a full semester, if not the entire first year. But there will also be opportunities to be selective in building your network. This can happen when you join a particular student organization or bar associations that are of interest to you. And I strongly encourage you to do this as a law student. For example, I'm a member of the Wolverine Bar Association, or the WBA as we call it, and it's an affinity bar association for lawyers of color. The WBA has a ton of programming, i.e. networking events, geared toward law students. But I didn't join until after I graduated from law school, so I couldn't take advantage of those opportunities. You'll often be invited to join these associations for discounted rates, if not for free, so don't shy away from them because just about all of them welcome law students. Every program an organization puts on presents an opportunity for you to network. And that can mean possibly landing a summer job, intern and externship opportunities, mentorships, and even winning scholarships. The attorneys in these organizations really do want to connect with law students. And I can tell you from experience, we're often disappointed when law students join, but don't attend and support our events, or don't keep in touch, after saying that they will. And we know school's your first priority, but don't miss out on opportunities like these while you're in law school. And I do want to say that it is a great idea to be involved as a law student, but you don't necessarily have to get involved immediately after you start law school. As a first-year law student, you really should just be focusing on studying and networking with the people who are already around you. But keep your eyes open for opportunities that catch your interest, and as a second-year law student, you can definitely get more involved. So how do you selectively build your network? I'd suggest you start by making a list of areas of law or other causes that interest you. If you're interested in certain pro bono areas of law, what groups or activities could you get involved in? Can you carve out time to volunteer anywhere? Maybe you're interested in practicing in big law. Many big law firms look to get to know law students and will host events online or in person. See how you can get involved. Maybe you're interested in promoting women in the law. There might be a statewide women lawyers group, or there are also national groups like Ms. JD. And there are also likely going to be private groups at your law school. So always keep your eyes peeled for those opportunities. Sit down and make a list of your interests. And then after you have a list, because it could be lengthy, pick only one to begin with. You should not join every single group, club, association, or networking event that you possibly can. If you go to every single thing, you'll run into a few issues. First, you won't have time to study. And that really should be the only issue, right? But second, you'd be spreading yourself too thin, and then you'd end up with a more shallow network rather than a deeper network. It's better to be more involved in just one or two things that mean a lot to you than to spread yourself too thin over several things. Show up to those things regularly. Do what you can to contribute. Do what you can to make a difference, because these are likely causes that you're passionate about. And work on forming stronger bonds with the people there. Your interests may shift over time, and so may your involvement in different groups or activities. But just focus on one or two groups at a time, and I think you'll find it very fulfilling. Now, this doesn't mean you can't be flexible. Absolutely not. You can be flexible. If there's a speaker that visits your school that interests you, or a firm that does some kind of lunch and learn or something like that, you can be flexible, attend those events, learn more. Those are also opportunities to meet more people. The point is that you should be selective about how you spend your time rather than just going to everything you possibly can. And I'll forewarn you, there will likely be food at most of these events, so it might be difficult. But assuming that we're agreeing that it's good to have a network and to strategically and selectively build your network over time, the next question is, when you have the opportunity to meet someone new and build your network, what in the world do you say? So this can be kind of awkward because you may want to get to know the other person, and the other person might want to get to know you, but nobody really knows what to say or where to start. So here are a few tips. First, get yourself in the right mindset. What do you do to relax? What do you do when you're feeling nervous or you have something really big coming up and you need to make sure that you're relaxed and that you're yourself? Maybe you say affirmations or you find some affirmations that are really easy for you to memorize. Where are you going to be? Are there restrooms? Do you think you'll have a few minutes before the event starts to maybe go into a single user stall and stand at the mirror and recite a short affirmation? Maybe you have to use your cell phone camera, right? Talk to yourself before you go into that event, or the rear view mirror in your car. Take deep breaths and say those affirmations. Here are just a few I Googled and found really quickly. I can overcome every obstacle that comes my way. I have everything that I need for success. I'm stronger than my fears. Every day I become a better version of myself. Don't forget to smile, by the way. You'd be amazed at how something as simple as a smile can be disarming for others who might be really nervous and calming for you at the same time. So next, after you feel grounded, focus on the other person. This sounds obvious, but I've sometimes been at networking events when the person I'm talking to is looking past me, either looking for someone or something else in the room, or constantly checking their phone. Now, as a mom of 3 teenagers, I know all too well what it feels like to attempt conversation with someone whose eyes are glued to their phone. And sometimes, let's be honest, we use our cell phones as a welcome distraction from an awkward situation. It's almost like a comfort to have someone to communicate with in a room where no one's engaging with you, even if we're actually just watching TikTok videos. So I strongly advise you to put your phone away and turn it on silent if possible when you're trying to meet new people, so you're not accidentally giving them vibes that you don't want to talk to them or you're easily distracted. And I know it can be difficult because we're so used to having our phones right at our side. Maybe you are waiting on a very important text or phone call. You might even be someone's safety at the same networking event. So you're honestly just trying to keep an eye out for a distressed text message. But it is very obvious to the other person when you're not paying full attention to them. And these are all the cues and signals that they could pick up on and think, wow, they're really not interested. And if you don't mean for that to be the vibe, you definitely don't want to have that person walk away feeling that way. It'll increase their anxiety and confusion as well. So I'd recommend that once you connect with someone, focus on them. If you're distracted because you need to do something else or find someone else or check your phone for some reason, I would either try to take a break and step out of the room. You might actually appreciate having a breath of fresh air, or just let the other person know. Say, I'm sorry if I appear distracted. I promised so-and-so that I would meet them here or whatever. That way, you're telling them the reason for your distraction, and they're likely to feel more comfortable during your conversation. Use your discretion here, though, because a fellow law student might be super understanding of that. But a faculty member or a lawyer or an alum who's come to an event might be a bit put off by that and really want your full and undivided attention. So next, ask them questions. A lot of people don't know what to say when they meet another person. But the good news is that most people like to talk about themselves. So ask questions. Try to avoid yes or no questions, or you probably aren't going to get a lengthy response and you're not giving them much to work with. You can start with some basic and not super personal questions like, how long have you been a part of this club or group? And maybe then ask, do you like it? You could even get more basic and ask, how was your weekend? Or how's your week going? If you're talking to an attorney, ask things like, do you practice law? Not all attorneys do, so don't assume, by the way. And if so, what kind? After asking them some shorter and more basic questions, you can ask questions that are a little more personal. For example, did you always want to practice this type of law? What do you like most or least about practicing? These types of questions generate real responses and keep the conversation going. So the next tip, when they answer, listen. Don't think too much about your next question. Respond to what they are actually saying. And for some people, this really does take practice. But if you reduce your anxiety ahead of time by telling yourself you're excited for this opportunity, if you've done some quick affirmations, taken some deep breaths, and if you're focused on them and what they're saying, it should be easier for you to actually respond and engage in meaningful dialogue versus just small talk. Next, share some information about yourself. You don't want to share something that's overly personal in your very first meeting, or you may make the other person feel uncomfortable. But you can share something about what made you go to law school, or this particular law school, what you like about it, or even what you're nervous about. You want to try to stay positive. In general, try not to complain about law school. Maybe the food at the event doesn't taste all that good or anything like that. Try to keep the conversation positive because that helps the other person to engage and to keep the conversation going. So next, provide long answers to any questions. So inevitably, and hopefully, if you're talking to someone, they will ask you questions. When this happens, try to provide full answers. I recommend you provide a long answer even if it's a short question. Like if someone says, "How are you?" Don't just say, "Good," even if that is your gut reaction. Instead, give them a long answer. For example, you could say, "I'm doing well. I stayed up too late last night watching Netflix with my roommate, so I'm a little tired, but I got Starbucks, so now I'm feeling a little bit better." That gives them a couple different conversational touch points. They can talk about Netflix. Maybe they'll share what they've been binge watching. They can talk about Starbucks, their favorite drink, their state of over or under caffeination, right? Or your roommate situation. They might ask you, "So do you live in the apartments here, or are you on campus or off campus?" Of course, you can always return the question and ask how their day or week is going as well. If someone says, "What's your favorite law school class?" instead of just saying torts, because it probably will be, you can provide more information like, "I really like torts. The professor is so funny. And I didn't think I would like his policy of not allowing laptops, but I actually found that I like taking notes by hand." So you've given them, again, a few different conversational touch points that they can use as a basis to connect with you. They can respond to your point about torts. Maybe they like it too. The torts professor, maybe they think that professor is funny. The laptop policy, taking notes by hand, etc., etc. So of course, you could ask them that. What's your favorite class? But these are some ways to kind of engage folks in conversation and to keep the conversation going. You might have a few other questions about networking, including what kinds of topics of conversation to bring up, and that's what we'll discuss next.